run this meeting. You did such a nice job.
Okay, here we are.
Yeah,
We're
without
having
a
a special meeting. I guess we're not doing it on YouTube either.
I guess it turned out okay.
So we
It did.
interrupt
Oh,
Trimet
I did go
Scanner
back
to
and
see
listen
what
to
they're
all
up
of it, by
to.
the way. So
You
I'm
did
up to speed.
fabulous. I would never have known you didn't have a script.
It drew from years of listening to Bruce and committing to memory everything he says.
Oh, stop it.
Trimet Oriented Entertainment, everybody.
Lori, I have to admit, with COVID now and the lack of interaction with people, I tend to be more chatty than when I had more human interaction. I was playing golf with some women yesterday.
That's funny.
And
Oh, you're playing
we were
golf,
commenting
are you?
about how our demeanor has changed because we have such rare opportunity to talk to another human being.
That's true. That's true. I'm not a big hugger, but I've been hugging people when I see them in person now on this rare occasion.
Chit chat at the board meeting.
Feels good, doesn't it?
It does.
It's amazing how much you miss that.
Yeah. I was at the CAT meeting this morning, and before the meeting started, I said, "Hey, how long do you think it'll be to the other CAT members before we meet in person?" Somebody
Never.
said a year.
Mhm.
Oh my God!
It will be
Oh my
never. It's a
gosh,
I
fucking
wonder.
new world order.
What
Okay,
are
it's
gonna be
over,
the
man.
signals that it'll be okay to meet in person?
It's over. The world as we know it
Not
is over.
anywhere near that right now.
The fucking oligarchs have
Well,
fucking
there's
put us
nothing.
in a box.
When I go out to
We're
play
in a
golf,
box.
they've now made it so that two people can ride together. We've all been vaccinated, but
Yeah.
no masks. We're just riding together.
Yeah.
Well, if you've been vaccinated, what the fuck do you need a mask
I was
for?
surprised. And then they took, I don't know where you play, Bruce, if it's like this, but Reserve had put this styrofoam thing in the cup and they've taken that all away. So now you have
Oh,
to
they
reach
have. Okay.
all the way in. And of course the rules change so you don't take the flag out. So
Kind of
anyway,
fun listening
before
to
COVID,
them
so.
gib-gabbing with each other.
That makes it hard to get the balls out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the styrofoam thing.
I think
I don't.
Bruce is almost
I
out
see a
of
note
here.
here that Keith's having a little struggle getting into the meeting. I think Kimberly's working with him on it right now. So hopefully we can get in there.
Kimberly and Yara are working with me because I can't get into Nextcloud.
Oh.
Oh, really? Okay. So does that mean you haven't seen you don't have the resolution then for the reading
No,
by
it-
by only?
Oh yeah, I've been
I've
banned
got
off Twitter.
Kimberly sent
For now.
this
Okay.
today.
Okay, good. All right, good.
Yeah,
So you have-
I've got stuff, but yeah, it's just really weird. It says that there are no files in here when I open it up, and I've shut my system down and come back on, and it's as if I'm persona non
It really
grata.
wasn't that hard to get into this meeting. Although this should be on
You
YouTube.
should.
Why is it not on YouTube,
How's
Trimet?
your tan?
Huh. Oh, look, this is so ridiculous.
She's showing off.
I think Linda Emmons is drunk.
She looks pretty happy too.
Linda Simmons, I mean.
I'm hanging on to that aloha spirit as long as I possibly can.
Well, look at Bruce. He's got his Hawaiian shirt.
We've got the elite, and they're having the
Good
greatest
match. I've
time
got
in
my
the world,
Hawaiian,
Trimet operators.
caftan /
You're out there in the
muumuu on, so
trenches, and look at
I love
them.
those colors.
Are they having fun
Yours
or
looks
what?
good,
It's
Is
just,
that why you've just got a headshot?
it's America, I love it here. Yeah.
Well, let's see. There you go. You gotta keep.
Just a reminder to members of the public coming in, if you want to provide testimony today, please raise your hand
How
in
do
the
you do that?
participants window. They'll be at the bottom corner of the window.
Mm.
And we have video instructions on the screen showing you how to do that visually. Please chat Jeff Carroll any questions.
I'm not talking to you. You do your little show. I'll just watch.
Good, I see it.
Hello, Tom.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Sam. And Kathy. Hi, Kathy.
Good morning, everybody. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
the cat, Sam attended part of the cat meeting this morning, and they treat you as quite a celebrity. They were very excited.
Who?
I have a really good time with Jan. Really
Yeah, you guys
good
are having a
friend, and I've followed her since I've.
The elites are having the time of their life during the COVID. It's the best thing that ever happened to them. They're getting richer by the minute. They get to stay at home. I mean, really, I just can't even believe this is happening anymore.
And then
Hello,
there's
everyone.
Who's that? Who the hell's that? Gregory Skillman? I think Linda's been drinking, man.
Shelley here yet?
Mhm. She's right above you.
Oh, okay. Always.
Well, I mean, it's kind of catty corner.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in the right reporting line.
All right, come on, you guys, get this shit on the road. We got scanner
I had
calls
my
to do.
second COVID shot yesterday at the convention center, and today I'm feeling a little,
Out of it.
yes, I'm happy it's over, but today I'm just feeling like really fatigued, and I know some of my
Yeah.
coworkers have sort of experienced the same. So
It
I'm
fucks
like,
you up,
"Ooh."
man.
Little low energy. feeling.
Hopefully it works.
Well, congratulations on getting the shot.
Thank you.
Get the
Yeah,
shot.
the first time that I walked into the convention center, it was very emotional. It was an emotional experience just to see, all the different stations and this whole operation happening right here in our city. So very grateful that more people are getting vaccines.
Mhm. Mhm. Good morning, Ozzy.
Good morning, or good afternoon. We just crossed the line. Hi.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Well, I'm waiting on my second shot. I'm right between. I have it scheduled for next week.
Oh, good.
Could be dead.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Laverne.
Don't forget.
He's muted, so
Yeah, you got to turn your mic on. There you are.
Need to reorganize my links for our meeting because they get buried. Good afternoon.
Who's that? Laverne Lewis. Who is she? She's got a very nice office.
all right. So Keith is the only one I'm not seeing here. Let's
Is
give
that a
him
new
a couple
board
more
member?
minutes, see if we can get him here from the very beginning.
Come on, get this shit on the road. All right, well, they're doing that. Let me go back to the calls. I might as well.
Hi, this is way too much communication, but this is 5774. There's never too much communication, 5774. So,
Okay, one final reminder for all the participants coming in, if you wish to provide testimony, please open the participants box
Where's
in the
that?
next window in the bottom right corner.
I don't see it.
Find the hand icon at the bottom of that window.
Where? I
Click
don't
that,
see any. I don't even
and
know
you
what
will
they're
be
talking
placed
about.
in the queue to speak. If you are joined by the audio conference only, meaning you called in on your phone and did not join the WebEx meeting, you can raise your hand by dialing *3 on your keypad. Thank you.
Where's how do you do it? I don't see anything here. Do you?
Wait another minute here. It sounds
See, I
like you're
got
still
this.
trying to
I
get
got
Keith
chat. I
connected
got
up here.
more. All right, you doofuses. Let me go back to this.
is on block 5771. They have just left the Richmond Transit Center. What would that person think about getting off at like 170th, crossing the street, and waiting at the stop?
Who cares?
I-205, how can I help? All the computers on messaging. Are we doing a train reroute?
Yeah, I don't care about that.
A17
so 3 days, sorry, a minute to get back to you. How's that situation going?
Well, I think we better get going here. I'll make a couple remarks. First off, good morning to everybody. Nice to see everybody this morning. I want to make sure if anybody signing in for the first time, we're not going to be having the public forum this morning. We will have that before our regular business meetings. This is a special business meeting which has been called to really only consider one thing, which is the changes that have been suggested to Ordinance 363. We'll have more.
You're not going to have, and they're not going to allow people.
We will have a public hearing on this ordinance again. So any of you who are here to give us information, testimony on this ordinance, you're welcome. That's what we want to hear today. So with that, I'm going to call the special business meeting and public hearing for the Trimet Board of Directors for April 21st, 2021 to order. And we have 2 items on our agenda this morning. The first item is a resolution requiring ordinances to be read by title only. It is now posted to the portal, and I know that Kimberly sent that out to everyone. So could I have a motion to approve this resolution to require ordinances to be read by title only?
So moved.
Is there a second?
This is Lori, second.
All right. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none. Again, for anybody listening, this is a very routine, just eliminates the need for the general counsel to read many, many pages of the ordinance for us, which we have in front of us. So I'm going to call a question. All those in favor of the motion to approve resolution requiring ordinances to be read by title only, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
That's that, huh?
All right, well, let's move on then to the main items of today, which is our ordinance. And we're here to provide the first reading on a revised ordinance, which deals with proposed service changes for fiscal year 2022, which begins on July 1st of this year. This comes after members of the board and the public raised current concerns about the original ordinance. And I did listen, just so you know, I had to leave at the last meeting, but I did listen to all the testimony, so I understand the comments and concerns by the public and the board. So what I'm going to do now is ask Shelley Devine, our general counsel, to read the ordinance by title only. Ms. Devine?
Thank you.
Hurry up. Move that shit
Ordinance
along.
number 363 of the Tri-County Metropolitan Transportation District of Oregon, adopting service changes and revising route designations. This is the first reading and public hearing.
Thank you very much. So what we are going to do now is we are going to hold a public hearing on this ordinance. And I see there's a number of folks who've signed up to speak and make comments.
I thought you just said there isn't
any public. I'm going to ask Jeff to call on them after I open the public hearing, which is now open. So Jeff, if you'd call on the first person to call.
Okay, yes, we're going to go to Thomas Craig first. Thomas, I have unmuted your mic.
Thanks, and you can all hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, President Warner and members of the board. My name is Thomas Craig. I'm a lifelong Portlander who's lived in 4 of our 6 quadrants and 28 of my 35 years within a short walk of the Line 75, now by Columbia Park. Thanks to you for letting me speak with you today to testify in opposition to what appears to still be a small but important plan change to the Line 77 in Ordinance 363. You may remember I delivered an email to each of you earlier this month in collaboration with a dozen community members and riders requesting time to discuss an alternative plan to the Hollywood Transit Center. Thanks to those of you who engaged with us, as well as those who read the email and reviewed our slide deck. We appreciate you taking the time. We also appreciate that in response to community feedback, the changes to the Hollywood Transit Center have been delayed. I hope the plan will be substantively changed in order to maintain the facility's function.
They've been delayed, not canceled.
Transfers. I strongly support the addition of housing units at the transit center, and indeed would like to see more housing units and fewer parking spaces with a focus on affordable units. But transit-oriented development is not merely development. It must fundamentally be transit-oriented.
Yeah.
That means not only being near to transit, but being built in a way that supports ease of use of transit.
Even though
design
transit
degrades,
use is
transfers, and
crashed.
decreases the transit orientation of the site. That's not being voted on today. My primary purpose for testifying is because while the Trimet website lists the changes to 66, 75, and 77 are being postponed, and while the change to the Route 77 is listed in the board report as minor, the Route 77 is still listed in the ordinance as having a deviation eliminated for the purpose of improving runtime. I'm unaware of a different deviation elimination being planned other than the deviation to Broadway between 42nd and 47th. So I'm guessing that that's the deviation being eliminated. While running an efficient system is important, running an accessible system for current riders, especially the most vulnerable riders, must also be considered a top priority. The elimination of stops 650 and 651 at Hollywood East is a major degradation of service for the many seniors and people with disabilities living at this facility managed by Home Forward at Hollywood East. Forcing these users and those boarding at the Broadway Medical Clinic to travel to Halsey and cross Halsey, a busy 4-lane road with impatient drivers having just gotten off the freeway for eastbound service, is not a minor change. There are also no bus shelters on Halsey currently, meaning a reduction in amenities for folk waiting for the bus. Our slide deck suggested an alternative alignment change that maintains these stops for connectivity, but eliminates the difficult southbound turn onto 47th Avenue. Thank you for your time, and please amend the ordinance to maintain the current service on the line 77. If that's just a typo and the ordinance is in fact delayed per the website, then great, but better safe than sorry. That's why I'm speaking today. Thanks
Yeah,
again.
there you go. Good. That was good.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. I cannot believe you ended your testimony as the clock went to 0. Nicely done.
Okay,
we'll ask
Brucey.
staff to make
Bruce,
sure we
go
understand what's
away
going on
now,
after
Bruce.
We'll ask the staff to
Go
make the changes
away.
after the
Hand it
public
off.
hearing here. Jeff, if you could ask the next participant, please.
Yes. Okay. Next up is Kathy Goodell. Kathy, you are unmuted.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yes, I'm Kathy Gettle, and I'm representing the Arlington Heights Neighborhood Association. And I'm here today to support the proposed changes for the line 63. Last time we were with you, we were not in support, and some changes were made, and we support them. Arlington Heights Neighborhood Association fully supports the updated proposal for the changes to 63. We appreciate you listening to our feedback last month and making the revision so we will continue to have morning bus service for students and commuters with 2 trips that will run through the neighborhood on Southwest Fairview to the Oregon Zoo. The original proposal provides a better connection between the downtown Transit Mall and the Japanese Garden, Rose Garden area, but it eliminates the route through most of the neighborhood. Explore Washington Park will be adding service to cover the Arlington Heights neighborhood throughout the year, 7 days a week, but only after 10 a.m. By having 2 Line 63 runs that will service the entire neighborhood in the morning, the neighborhood will continue to have school and commuter service with this combination of service from Trimet and Explore Washington Park. We applaud Trimet and Explore Washington Park for trying to improve public transportation access for Washington Park and continuing to support public transportation access for our neighborhood and eliminating some redundancy in service. So thank you for listening to us, and we approve the changes for line 63.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Jeff, could you go on to the next testifier?
Okay, next up is April Bertelson. April, you are unmuted.
Thank you. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is April Bertelson. I am the transit coordinator with the City of Portland Bureau of Transportation, and I am joined by my colleague, Mauricio Leclerc, who's the supervising planner for area and project planning at PBOT. He is here as a resource and supporter should we have more to add or questions. We are here to testify in support of Ordinance 363 and the current staff proposal for service changes and the revised route designations
For what?
Trimet staff has made several modifications to the proposal in response to community concerns, and we find the current proposal to be reasonable compromise and accommodation. We encourage you to approve it.
What is the compromise?
I'll focus most on the proposed route change to line 15, removing the deviation from Southwest Salmon and shifting the route to Southwest Alder. We want to express our greatest support for this route change. Southwest Alder offers a more direct, quicker, safer, and legible route. It follows best practices for transit network planning by bringing the two directions of the route closer together on the one-way couplets. Currently, there are 5 blocks between the eastbound bus on Salmon Street and the westbound bus on Washington Street. This change will put the two directions of bus travel 1 block apart on Alder and Washington, in line with other bus lines in the central city as they use the one-way grid. Jarrett Walker, a Portland-based transit network design expert and writer of Human Transit blog, has written about the benefits of this change for clarity and legibility of the bus network, in addition to the travel time benefits. I encourage you to check out that blog post. I can try to put it in the chat. The current route change of the Line 15, currently riders go 4 blocks out of direction, and it involves 4 additional intersection turns by buses and multiple max lane crossings. All of this adds travel time and potential for delays and conflicts. Every bus turn eliminated is a safer and faster ride. Removing these turns will make it safer for everyone around the bus by removing potential conflict points, especially for pedestrians. New World Order! And it removes delay, making it quicker for everyone on the bus.
Everybody's marching into it. Nobody
Removing these
is thinking
deviations
twice.
will save time, save riders an estimated 2 minutes or more all day, every day.
All day, every day.
Those buses make.
Yeah.
This most benefits people riding through downtown
let me just
now.
mention here, I'll cut it off. I don't know if they realize how much traffic goes down Alder, but I do, because I used to live there, and it's been a while since I lived there. But you have any idea how backed up Alder gets during rush hour? No, you don't. Well, you just wait to see, because you will. You won't be going nowhere down Alder, I guarantee you.
Since then, we've worked closely with Trimet staff and our consultants to develop a project to improve Southwest Alder, including new bus stops and a wider bus and
Wait
bike
until you
lane,
see the fucking
from 4th
traffic!
Avenue to 2nd Avenue, approaching the Morrison Bridge, so that buses
Wait
can
until you
get out
see
of
the
traffic.
motherfucking
We are
traffic
partnering to
on
design and
Alder.
deliver the first phase of this project in time for the proposed service change in
Shut
March
up,
of
you're over your time.
2022
Cut her off,
to welcome
Warner.
transit to Southwest Alder through downtown. We hope
Shut
you will
up!
support this change.
I don't
for
see you
a better
cutting her
Line
off,
15,
Warner.
And thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, get her out. Out.
Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it. Jeff, if you could go on to the next testifier.
Okay, next up is Neil Goodman. Neil, you are unmuted.
Good afternoon. My name is Neil Goodman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Neil Goodman.
I am the precinct committee person for the Multnomah Democratic Party, and I live here at 4400 Northeast Broadway Street. And I have already sent in written testimony in months past.
Not a Democrat.
My constituents number 129 Democrats.
Oh, no!
And 286 habitable living units, which is approximately 300 souls. And my neighbors meet one or more of the following qualifications for admittance to Hollywood East. That is to say that we are disabled mentally and or physically, of low income or elderly, and of diverse races. That is to say people of color, religions, and gender preferences, protected classes,
Stock market
under ADA, I believe.
Yep.
There is no question that the loss of service
stock
on
market
Route
is going
77,
up,
either by moving or eradication of stops 650
going
and
up, man.
651.
That's how it works.
Will work a permanent
Rich are
hardship
taking
on
everything,
us.
man.
And in the words of one staff member, could render
You're going to die, and the rich are stealing everything.
To people who have mobility difficulties. moving the stop 650 or 651 to Northeast Halsey is not only a violation of our basic rights to free transportation,
you're damn right,
paid, if you
good
will,
for you,
but an insult to those who have mobility challenges and qualify for protection under the American with Disabilities Act.
yes, he's right.
The proposed stops on Halsey are so far from
If
our
the Democrats
references
don't
that,
like it, you know it's a fucked
neither
up
a
mess.
reasonable nor a rational alternative to loss of service.
Yes,
because
sir.
people in mobility devices, on crutches, or using walkers cannot get to these new alternative stops. Even when the COVID emergency is lifted, no one could reasonably attend their house of worship on the weekend. There simply will be no service, period.
There you go.
Others also use these stops, including, but not limited to, the Saturday farmers market, low-income Portland citizens who use state-issued checks to buy from low-income farmers. It's also impossible to get to the local hospital,
There you
which is
go.
Providence, in
There
less
you go,
than an
sock
hour,
puppets. What are you going to do
using,
about it?
any of the 77, Route 19, or other Trimet routes to get to the hospital, where it takes a taxi not much more than 15 minutes, and does not allow for or need emergency services at that point. At one point, I measured the frequency of the bus 19 westbound as 3 for every 1.3 eastbound bus 19, and it left me with the concern about where all those westbound buses were actually headed. So in conclusion, you must sustain any of the routes referred to, and that I and my fellow tenants and constituents rely on.
Rippy, you're the one that got
in any
me
event,
bounced
we
out
must
of here.
increase frequencies.
Well, fuck Twitter, man. They
eliminate
do me a favor and get rid of me forever.
and keep the Hollywood Transit Center open.
Yes.
And pleasant.
Yes.
And not overtaken by a so-called affordable 13-story apartment complex.
So-called,
you
damn
very
fucking right, motherfucker.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman.
He's right, 100% right.
The next person, please.
Just move them through. Bruce,
all right, next up is Reza Farhoudi. Reza, you are unmuted.
Reza Farhoudi.
Hi, thank you, board. Good afternoon. My name is Reza Farhoudi. I am a downtown Northwest resident in Portland. I'd like to provide comments today on line 15. I frequently take line 15 to the east side, usually when transferring from the streetcar, and I've always found the 5-block couplet in downtown to be circuitous and confusing to riders. So to improve legibility and transit performance, I support the line 15 reroute to Alder and the corresponding transit priority improvements that PBOT is planning. I actually suggest that we should look at extending that bat lane beyond 4th Avenue due to traffic congestion on Alder in the PM peak.
Yeah, you better get a goddamn
but
bus
it would
lane
involve
in
taking
there.
out some curb extensions, so it's definitely a longer term conversation. But while the board is deliberating on changes and improvements to line 15, there is another need that I would like to bring to your attention. Currently, the Northwest 23rd branch of line 15 drops to 30-minute service after 6 p.m. on weekend evenings.
Ooh,
so
horrible
Sundays.
service. Horrible.
Every bus on the Belmont
30-minute
branch
service?
turns around downtown during those times. So Belmont service is still at 15 minutes past 6 p.m., but in Northwest, it drops down to 30 minutes.
That's terrible.
And so what I'm suggesting
How can they
is
do
that
that?
every line 15 bus should be sent to Montgomery Park instead of turning around at 6 p.m. Northwest Portland
They're
is
gonna
an excellent
drop.
focus area.
Did
in
you hear what he
Trimet's,
said?
Public Transportation Improvement Plan.
They're going to drop service on 23rd to every half hour. That is a fucking huge fail.
To service workers who are based in Northwest. And it would also support investments that PBOT has made in the transportation wallet and the golden transportation wallet for low-income people in Northwest Portland. So I know it's not something that's being deliberated now, but in the future, when the time is right to expand service again, I really, really think that we should look at just sending all line 15 buses to Montgomery Park instead of
you should.
turning some around. Thank you very
fucking
much for your
cheap
time.
motherfucker. They're just cutting the services, man.
Thank you
Capital
very much for
project,
your comment.
100% funded. Service cut.
If you could go to the next speaker, please.
All right, next up, we're going to Jim Howell.
Okay,
Jim, you are
Jim
unmuted.
Howell. Let's hear him.
Thank you.
Let me get him.
Tom Craig pretty much said what I would have said. He did so well, I won't repeat it. But I want to make sure that in the changes that you're not going to take the 77 off of Broadway. Mr. Goodman made a very good argument why that shouldn't be done. And the 1 minute running time savings is not worth the loss of hundreds of riders that would not only use those two stops, but the two stops on 42nd that would be impacted. Well, since I have a few more minutes, I would like to make a few comments about two other lines. The number 15 bus downtown was originally supposed to run parallel and in conjunction with light rail on Morrison and Yamhill when it was first designed prior to light rail. And that is probably a better alignment than Alder. It actually makes Yamhill and Morrison more of a transit mall on an east-west transit mall, and makes for far easier transfers between light rail and buses.
That's true. He's right.
And something that should be considered. I don't think it has been. And both could run on Morrison Yamhill as a transit corridor. The other is the number 19 in Eastmoreland. It's being taken off of the busiest part of the line. The Rex Loop carries boards over four times as many passengers as the piece that's being retained. And if you're going to eliminate the split in the line, which is a good idea, you should just do it just the opposite way. Eliminate the where you're showing it, which there's very few boardings, and keep the Rex Loop. So, and one other thing that I suggest, it has not to do with this ordinance, but something I wish the board would consider is establishing a track committee, a transit riders advisory committee that basically can get into the weeds before these projects get well established and with the errors as been shown in this particular project. So consider a transit rider advisory committee of knowledgeable transit riders. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Jim, as usual. Appreciate your good comments.
Sure you do.
Jeff, next speaker, please.
Okay, next up is Colleen Shoemaker. Colleen, you are unmuted.
Thank you, and thank you to the Trimet board for allowing us to speak today. My name's Colleen Shoemaker, and I live in Arlington Heights neighborhood. I do sit on the neighborhood. Oh, am I just now coming on?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay. I sit on the neighborhood association board, but I'm speaking today as a private citizen. I want to thank you very much for amending your initial proposal for the 63 bus in Arlington Heights and Washington Park to reinstate that morning service, at least 2 runs up and down Fairview, Southwest Fairview between the zoo and Kingston. This is really going to help students and commuters who will again have public transit options. Also, I think keeping bus service in neighborhoods is really important to help meet the City of Portland's goal of reducing individual automobile use. And it's also going to help in our neighborhood in particular, which is very hilly and dangerous on dark mornings and wet ones, of keeping our neighbors safe. And I do appreciate that you rethought the 63. We will live with the route change, but we're really glad to have morning hours again. So thank you very much. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much for your comments. Jeff?
All right, and last one on the list is Jeremy Sachs. Jeremy, you are unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity to provide some testimony. My name is Jeremy Sachs, and I live in Willamette Heights, and I'm here to talk about line 15. I think I may be the only one from Willamette Heights because we're in the middle of a power outage right now, so I believe a number of my neighbors were planning to join, but I ran down to the office, not on the bus, unfortunately, but here I am. I thought it was interesting when staff testified about their plans for line 15, they didn't talk about what they're doing to Willamette Heights. And what they're doing to Willamette Heights really is cutting it off from the rest of line 15 and reducing service to essentially a school bus service for a few rides in the morning and a few rides in the evening.
That's right.
I would like to stress very strongly the support of the vast majority of the people in Willamette Heights for maintaining the current schedule and the current route as it is. Again, it's an all-day schedule currently. It goes downtown and then it goes across town. And I've submitted previously written testimony addressing why the new schedule, both the original new schedule and the new proposal that amended the new schedule from staff creates problems and will do a disservice to the neighborhood. It does seem to me that creating significant changes in the middle of COVID when no one's riding the bus is not the smartest thing to do in the world. And I would like to emphasize that, although there have been changes proposed by staff to their original plan, they really only slightly alter it. They don't fix the problems that I and my neighbors have identified and submitted in written form to you. And there have to be other less burdensome solutions if cost is an issue or if there is some issue perceived about safety in at the Gordon and Thurman turnaround. So I and my neighbors would strongly urge you to reject the planned changes that staff has proposed to the Willamette Heights section of line 15 and to retain the current structure and frequency of line 15 as it currently reaches into Willamette Heights. Incidentally, I have used this line for over 20 years to get to work in the morning, in the evening, and all times during the day. My neighbors of all ages use it all throughout the day. And it does seem to me that although the intentions may be good from staff, the intentions are not aligning with reality in Willamette Heights.
That's correct.
I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but I would encourage all of you to read the many submissions that my neighbors and I have.
I used to drive this route and I used to live over there, so I know.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. We definitely have had a lot of emails and letters from folks. So thank you for your comments today. And I'm sorry about the power outage.
You fucking Warner. You're such a hack, man. Go away, Warner.
Okay, Bruce, that is all the hands I see raised.
I'll have a drink, thank you. Fucking ridiculous, man.
You're on mute.
Who's on mute?
Thank you very much. With that, I am going to close the public hearing on ordinance 363 and ask the general manager and staff to give us all an update on the changes that have been made. And if you have any response, I see that line 77 is an issue for a number of folks, and still line 15 is an issue for many. So maybe the staff in your presentation could do that. So, Mr. General Manager, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Bruce, real quick, I had one final hand go up. Did you want to take it?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me reopen the public hearing, and now I'll open up this is for Mr. Neary?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Okay. I'm here to talk about line 15 is also you're taking it and cutting down service on Willamette Heights. People that want to go to the library or food front will have to walk now or walk over to Montgomery Park, and a lot of people can't do that. Personally, myself, I have vascular problems, so walking any extra is not feasible to me, and you're taking that route and bringing it down Northwest 18th and back on Northwest 19th.
Yeah, stupid. Stupid.
Which basically already have line 24
right
going that route, and I've ridden that route from Emmanuel Hospital several times and without anybody on the bus.
Right.
And also taking line 15 and going directly down Alder as opposed to going by Lincoln High School. Also on 10th and 12th Avenues, there's a lot of older people that are either walkers and many with wheelchairs, and that just makes it difficult for those people, makes them have to walk further. You know, Trimet's a public service, and you know, you don't.
No, they're a goddamn aristocracy.
I don't understand why people are concerned about the distance between the eastbound and westbound 15 buses, because basically you're not taking the bus downtown to go back and catch the bus to go back to Northwest. You're eliminating a lot of service in lower downtown Portland is the theater, the farmers market. And I just think during COVID, it's a bad time to make changes.
Sure, you're not kidding.
Thank you very much.
It's horrible.
Thank you, Mr. Neary. Appreciate
Disconnected
your
elitists.
comments.
That's why it's happening.
I see nobody else, Jeff, is that
They're
correct?
cutting service, capital projects funding.
Yes, that's correct.
100%.
All right. I'm going to close the public hearing again and turn it back over to our general manager.
Yeah, turn it over to this fucking
Sam?
All right. Good afternoon, President Warner and board directors. First of all, thank you for giving us your time today for this special meeting.
Oh, shut up.
I would like to also thank the public for their testimony today and all of the many emails and letters that we've received. Before I go to Tom Mills, our Director of Mobility Planning and Policy, to talk about each one of the adjustments that's been made to this ordinance, I want to step back a moment and provide you and the board with a bit of information on how we reached this point. While the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a drop in revenue, put in the brakes on what had been an aggressive service expansion since the fall of 2018, we believe we can still make some service improvements. The proposals we've developed came at little to no cost with a focus on making our bus service more reliable. Our Mobility Planning and Policy Department has analyzed our bus routes to see where changes could improve travel time for our customers, improve safety, increase ridership, and really help with the overall efficiency of the system. Trimet then held 2 rounds of virtual open houses to the community. One was in the fall of last year and also in February of this year to get feedback from our riders and the public. The sessions were held in both English and in Spanish. And
we have to, you see how they make the, you know, they've already made all the decisions. They've got the feedback. Nobody wants this shit. You're lying. You're an overpaid hack. You should be fired.
The feedback was from a diverse audience, has led to some adjustments to the service proposal that we brought before you in March. After hearing your concerns during the public forum at the meeting, and then from you, board, we've refined the plan for the coming year.
How can you?
With focus now on service adjustments to just 8 lines. I will have Tom come in now and really explain
how bad
what we've changed. So Tom, are you ready to provide a presentation?
I am, and I think Jeff is pulling that up right now.
Yeah,
Great.
look at this shit.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking your lunch hour to be with us, but both the board and the public. And I appreciate all the public comment that we've heard, as well as the comments we heard last month from the board members. Jeff, if we could go to the next slide.
Career technocrat. What do you know
As
about
Sam had mentioned, due to COVID, we have less ridership right now, which has resulted in less revenue, which means that we're not able to expand service in fiscal year 21, our current fiscal year, and we won't really be able to expand service next year either. However, we do want to make...
He's lying. The federal government is bailing them out. What happened to the CARES Act money? They're stealing the money. Do you understand?
A cost increase, but not significantly. And those changes are focused on service efficiencies that attract riders, safety improvements, and other no-cost service improvements. So let's just dive in. And I know I went through all of these last month, but there may be some new folks listening in. So I would like to go through all the proposal. And the ones where we've made revisions, I will have those at the very end. So Jeff, the next slide, please. So the first change is that we're proposing is to line 11. And you can see here there's a tail pier that goes to Rivergate Avenue. We receive very few boardings on this. It is about an 8-minute deviation for our customers. There's nothing more frustrating than going 8 minutes out of your way and not dropping off or picking anyone up. And so if we go to the next slide, we would recommend that we eliminate that deviation. Now, the big company that we were serving at the end of the line, they have had a number of layoffs. They are no longer on our pass program. And we really haven't heard any negative complaints about this proposal. We have reached out to all the property owners and businesses along this section. We really haven't heard anything.
Let's look at the bus 11.
So next slide, please. The next change we would like to make is on line 19. And you can see there in the dotted lines, there are two deviations. They alternate. Sometimes you deviate and go up to Union Manor, which is senior.
What you're watching here is why we're fucked. You have career bureaucrats, government employees paid by your taxes, making all the decisions for you. You have no input into it at all. And this is why we are fucked as citizens of this country right now. It's playing out at this level.
Worked with the community, particularly at Union Manor. And we've kind of come to an agreement, and I believe they have supported us with changing that so that we serve Union Manor once an hour between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. 7 days a week. And then there's the Rex Loop. And the Rex Loop, predominantly the ridership is during the rush hour.
Oh, God.
So we are recommending 2 morning trips and 2 p.m. trips. We would make sure that at least one of those trips is timed with the bell time at Cleveland High School. Because some of those riders are trying to get up to Powell, where they then connect to the 9 to go to Cleveland High School.
Yeah, right.
We have, I think, heard pretty good support regarding this one too. At the end of this, we'll go over the outreach results. The next slide, please, Jeff. The next one is an exciting one. This is line 32. What's interesting about this line is when the line gets to the intersection of Beaver Creek and Highway 213, it just deadheads straight to Clackamas Community College. We don't have any stops along Highway 213.
Yes.
However, we are missing Oregon City High School, and recently this road, Myers Road, was extended to allow us to access Clackamas Community College from the south. So, Jeff, if you can go to the next slide. This slide.
This is an actual positive change. This is not a negative change. Everything is negative except for this.
South. It adds about a minute of runtime, which we think our customers would be comfortable with adding to their trip.
It's amazing how we talked about the customer. You don't give a fuck about the riders. Shit, ever.
And Clark College. What happens is we've been going to the Graduate School of Education, where we have to make a very difficult turn in a parking lot. Now, normally we really don't want to operate in parking lots. You've got people walking between cars backing out. It's just really not a great place for us to do that kind of thing. And we can't even lay over there. What we have to do is then go up to the northern loop where the bus has to stop, the operator takes the break. So we get very few rides, but what happens is those who do ride, they will ride to the School of Education, but then to go home, they'll walk up to the layover in the northern loop, because they don't want to get on the bus and then have to stop at the layover and wait through it. So if we go to the next slide, what we are proposing is that we just do the Northern Loop and we don't go to the Graduate School of Education. Again, really not very many ons and offs at that location. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is the final one where we didn't make any revisions between March and now. And this is lines 93 and 94. 94 serves Portland, Tigard, and Sherwood. And what happens is between Tigard and Sherwood, it is a local service, meaning it stops at every single stop. Between Sherwood and downtown Portland, it is express service, and it only stops at Barber Transit Center, and then it goes to downtown Portland. Meanwhile, 93, the red line there, is local service only, and it makes stops at all the way. What we would like to do, next slide, is just merge those into one line. Take all those line 93 hours and put them into the line 94, so we have more trips on line 94, and all trips will go to downtown Portland. They will still it will still operate as local service between Sherwood and Tigard, but then it becomes the express. Now between Tigard and downtown also operates line 12, so that's where the local service will still be available for people north of Tigard. But we will have this express option, and all the trips from Sherwood will go to downtown. Again, we've heard a lot of support for this. Next slide.
Yeah, sure.
So now we get into some of the lines where we've made some revisions. What I'm showing you here is line 63 Washington Park, and this is what we do today. So the blue line is line 63. Okay. We run from Providence Park up to the Japanese and Rose Garden, and then to the Oregon Zoo. The pink and white line is
Well, you can see why this doesn't work, right? The shuttle doesn't go down where you can connect to other shit. Why don't you just extend the shuttle down here and get rid of the 63? The shuttle's just going around the zoo. So what the fuck good is the shuttle if it doesn't go down here?
And then Explore Washington Park would circulate around the park and serve people. And so we came up with this idea, the next slide.
Okay, what are they doing? Let's see. What is it?
Which is having the line 63 serve downtown Portland, go along Salmon Street to the transit mall where we could pick up some folks from hotels, tourists, and get them to the park, and then Explore Washington Park would operate the shuttle. Now, one of the concerns that was raised last month was, well, you know, the Explore Washington Park, the Washington Park free shuttle doesn't start until 10 in the morning, and how are you going to handle that? And so, as was mentioned by some of the speakers this morning, we have agreed that we can run 2 trips from the Oregon Zoo, that's this dotted line here, from the Oregon Zoo through the gardens and back onto the route and into downtown. That would allow us to get students to school. We'll make sure that we're timed with the Lincoln Bell, and commuters to work. A large number of the riders in the Arlington Heights neighborhood are pretty close to where the line's going to be anyway, but the folks further up the hill, this would be able to address their needs.
This is horrible.
Next slide, please.
Horrible, horrible. I don't like it.
This is the line 15 northwest segment, Willamette Heights.
They want to
As I've mentioned, I think last month, there are really 3 tails to this. One goes up to Northwest Portland industrial area. One goes to the Montgomery Park because the demand for service isn't as high in the industrial area. And then the third tail goes to Willamette Heights by way of Thurman. And this is the tail that, the segment that we really want to focus on. I do want to acknowledge this is
After 50 years, they want to get rid of it. After 50 fucking years.
There was a streetcar line that one time went up Thurman Street. The issue that we run into today is that we must run larger buses on line 15
We've
in
been
order
doing
to
it for 50
accommodate
years.
the crowds. But when you run a 40-foot bus on Thurman Street,
I drove
you
it.
can't turn it around without
can.
having to back the bus up.
So what?
We have been doing this for years, decades even.
That's correct.
And though it is something we have been doing for a long time,
correct.
It really is not the kind of operation that you do with transit service.
Well,
the operator cannot see behind themselves while backing up the bus. They can't see what's behind them. We don't even do that in the yard. In the bus yard, we require a spotter to be behind the bus.
So after 50 years, they decide it's unsafe. This is your typical Trimet shit.
Yet we're doing this 35 times a day on the weekdays up on Thurman.
And how many accidents have you had?
It's really not a good operation for us. And as has been mentioned, mailboxes have been struck,
Yeah, so
telephone poles have struck, even our own bus stop sign has been struck. And,
So
we just
Who cares?
worry about the day when we hit a person.
Yeah, right.
So
your operators.
but yet we can't. So our solution is to run a smaller bus on Thurman Street, a 30-foot bus that can make a U-turn. The problem we run into is you can't run a 30-foot bus on the 15 because it will get overloaded later on down the line. So if we go to the next slide, please. So our solution has been to break off the Thurman segment and create a new bus line. We'll call it line 26.
Bureaucrats at work.
And line 26 would then accommodate a smaller bus. Now, of course, we want to still serve Northwest 23rd Avenue with all the service that we give it today. So we are recommending that we continue all those trips that go to Thurman Street today would still come up Northwest 23rd, but they wouldn't turn on Thurman Street. They would then go to Wilson.
Look at how many blocks.
So what this winds up being is a net add to the neighborhood because we're adding more service to the neighborhood to serve Thurman Street.
What?
We do recommend that it go to 18th and 19th.
Useless.
For Title VI reasons, we serve a lower income, higher minority community by going in that area. It's still lower than the average for the region, but it's
the elitist is saying we should serve the low. The elitist who's making who knows what this guy's making? Let's look it up. Tom Mills. Let's see what he makes.
Providence Park. And the reason for that is, again, we're adding service here. And so it becomes very costly if we try to duplicate what we do on the 15. Initially, our proposal was to really just focus on the morning and afternoon trips when most of the riders are riding, particularly those who live west of Northwest 29th Avenue. Folks who live east of Northwest 29th Avenue are generally within walking distance of the existing Line 15. But based on what we heard, we have revised our proposal. And so we are recommending 40-minute service between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. So that gives us more of a extended peak. That's 14 trips a day and 40-minute service between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. On weekends. Comes to approximately 10 trips a day when you kind of put in break times and things like that. Looking at the ridership prior to COVID, west of 29th, which is really where people are further away from the existing 15. By putting this schedule in, we would serve 80% of the ons and offs west of 29th on Thurman Street. But it would cost us more money, about $345,000 per year. Next slide. And this will be our last line that I'm going to talk about. I see we're running out of time. This is the Line 15 again. This is what we do today. We operate on Salmon Street. It's 5 blocks away from the westbound direction on Washington and Morrison. If we go to the next slide. Our proposal is to streamline this so that we are operating on Alder Street. It does require additional walking distance for people who are boarding, maybe living along Salmon. They would be walking 4 blocks to reach the Alder segment. At the same time, it would also require less walking distance for people who are, their businesses in the Washington area, they don't have to walk all the way down to Salmon. So there's a bit of a wash there. Additionally, it would be faster travel time for people who are riding through, as was mentioned by a couple of the speakers today. It would be, what was said earlier, more legible, more understandable. People who get off at Washington will have an easier time finding their bus stop to go home. And one thing I want to point out is it does move the line closer to Old Town, where we do have a lower income community living, and lower income than what we experience near Salmon Street. We did not revise this proposal, but we do want to kind of stress the benefits of it a little bit more. And then you can see in the pink lines all the other service that occurs here. Lastly, I do want to point out, on Salmon Street, there still would be bus line 51, as well as mentioned earlier, bus line 63.
Yippee.
Finally, I do want to point out what is not in here, and that are the changes to Hollywood Transit Center.
Why not?
After March, we kind of huddled together more with the development team,
the developers
for the Hollywood Hub, and we've come to the realization that we have more time, and so we would like to table that proposal. Come back to you next year with some.
Yeah, they just put it off. I guarantee you, the developers are going to win here, but they see that there's a lot of public pushback, so they're using standard government procedure, which means just put it off for now. Come back later when the whole thing is calmed down. This is standard operating procedure for these career technocrats who these elites that are running our fucking lives do.
It's just a small reference. We missed it in our revisions, and I apologize for that. I would ask that we strike that from the ordinance.
Yeah, strike it is right.
And then if we can go to the next slide. The Title VI report. So
Title VI, you waste of time.
Last month, Carl Green, who has moved on to the Regional Transit District in Denver, reported out on the Title VI report. There's no real significant change to the Title VI report as a result of these service changes. The Title VI report did flag that the line 15 Thurman, or I should say line 26 Thurman, is an addition of service. But as I mentioned, it is kind of going from a low minority community to a slightly higher minority community, a higher income community to a slightly lower income community, though it is still underneath the average level. On a system level analysis, Carl's analysis was that there's no disproportionate adverse effect to low income and minority populations, and no disproportionate benefits to high income or non-minority populations as well.
Sure.
And that still remains. Next slide, please. We're just about done.
They tell us that it's no input, so we got to believe them, of course. There's no way to know if any of this is true, but we have to believe them because we don't have a choice.
Through that all, but if we go to the next slide, we also reached out to a number of our partners and community-based organizations to ensure that the information was distributed to their clientele. And then lastly, the last slide shows the response that we received. I do have to say we did receive some more responses in the last 24 hours on the line 15 that did not get in here, probably about 10 more responses. I would say about 9 of those were in opposition and 1 was in support. But you can see a number of the proposals are either in support or they're pretty well split among them. So, it is reflecting some, a difference in opinion among some of our customers. That is the last of my slides, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sermon. Opposed.
Turn to the board. Does the
All
board have any
even.
questions for
Rex.
the general manager
Rex.
or
Union
for Tom?
Manor. 139. Nobody cares. General manager hack. Just sue.
I'm seeing nobody is raising their hand or wanting to make a comment. I do want to note that I listened to the testimony from the last meeting and the board comments. Commissioner Edwards, I assume you had your question about the Wapato facility being served, that the line 11 changes did not affect the service to that facility.
We got a whole 286
and that's
comments,
correct.
folks.
And I appreciate Tom and his team for
286
meeting
comments.
and enlightening me on that discussion and having that second consideration for that area and explaining that and looking deeper into it. And because they dug a little bit deeper, and I certainly appreciate their efforts.
Good. I guess I just want to build on Keith's comments that obviously I'm very supportive of the Wapato, the Bybee Lake Hope Center, as it's called now. And that's one of those areas where, if you remember, we had a large delegation and encouraged us to increase service in that area. And so ultimately, probably while I'm gone, hopefully you folks can take a look at that and maybe figure out a way to get additional service, because I think that's going to be a great facility. And the other thing, Tom, so the number 77 changes that were inadvertently left into the ordinance, I assume you've talked with General Counsel that these would be non-substantive changes that we could make without having to cause us to redo another first reading of this ordinance?
It's actually in the ordinance. I noticed it. It's it talks about a route change, and then it has in parentheses, and it lists the lines that are changing. And if one of those, it says line 77, if we're able to just kind of strike that from the ordinance, that's the only reference to line 77 in the ordinance. When you get into the part where there's more detailed discussion, line 77 is not in there. So it was just an oversight on my part, and I want to apologize for that.
Okay.
And thanks, Tom. It's Shelley. I would just suggest that the board entertain a motion to just strike any reference to line 77 from the ordinance. That'll make it nice and clean, and then we can come, and then that'll take care of this being the first reading, and there won't be any question that line 77 is not going to be addressed in this ordinance. So, Board President, you might want to entertain a motion for that.
Okay, so is there a motion then to strike all references in the ordinance to line 77?
So moved.
I have a motion. Looked like it was Keith. Was there a second from somebody?
I'll second it, Linda.
Okay, Linda, thank you very much. Any discussion on this minor change? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to strike line 77 from the ordinance, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. All right, we'll move forward from that. And then I guess I just want to note on here, Tom, that I appreciate the work you've done on line 15. There is no easy solution there. I've actually driven up on Thurman and looked at the turnaround there and understand the safety issue that we've got. And so what you've come up with seems to be the best of not any good alternatives that are there to deal with that safety problem.
Yeah,
so
right. You're real safety
I'll look
problem.
forward, if there's any other suggestions you have, then I'll look forward to having a dialogue with the board next week when we consider adoption of this, because we are taking no action today, remembering that.
Yeah, you took no action.
Tom, do you have any final comments?
I just want to mention one thing that I did forget to say. Director Gonzalez had asked us to look into developing an agreement with Explore Washington Park around line 63 and their shuttle, the Washington Park Free Shuttle. We did develop a memorandum of understanding with them in partnership. That memorandum addresses issues around coordination, communication, giving each one another a significant amount of time about before any.
All these elites are controlling your life from the comfort of their home. They're all elites. Either they're making six-figure salaries or they're part of an elite structure. The board is not getting paid, but they're all elites. You don't get on that board unless you're an elite. And here we see how they control our lives at the very basic level of Trimet. And this is the same thing playing out everywhere.
Appreciate it, President Warner. I want to just thank the board, especially Director Gonzalez. I know he did some work with the team as well.
This guy's got to go.
With that, President Warner, I ask you and the board directors that you approve this ordinance adopting Trimet service changes
for
fiscal year 2022 at our next board meeting. With that, that ends my comments.
I appreciate your close there. Again, we do have a decision before us, and we did have some very good testimony. I know there's other people who would like to make further comments. I have closed the public hearing, so I'm going to, unless there's further items to come before the board this morning, I'm going to close the meeting. Is there anything else? Hearing nothing, then I'm going to adjourn our special meeting and public hearing for April 21st, 2021. Thank you all for participating. And again, want to thank the staff a lot for following up on the questions and concerns of both the public and the board. It's greatly appreciated. Have a good rest of the day, you guys.
Thank you.
Very much.
Yeah, there you go, folks. They did delay the 77. I guarantee you, I put money on it. I give you 10-to-1 odds that transit center will be closed. They didn't do it because there's some public opposition, and they don't want to be overtly obvious in their attitude that the public doesn't count. So they delayed it. But I guarantee you that's going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind. And I don't know. It's hard to watch elites making all the decisions for everybody. It's hard to watch, but you should watch it because it's important to understand how our world works. And our world works for the benefit of the elites and not for you. And you see it play out everywhere, including all the way down to the Trimet level. It's just heartbreaking to watch how our society is controlled by these fucking elites. And we are locked out, man. We are locked out of the process. Over and out.